Hello there, everyone. Welcome to today's Lunch and Learn workshop, the Get Ready for Greatness, part of the Get Ready for Greatness Lunch and Learn workshop, the 21 Days to Greatness series. If you're just joining me for the first time, my name is Richard Cuff. I'm president of CTI Marketing, founder of Nasimba Business Alliance, master greatness coach at getreadyforgreatness.com, and host of the podcast, The PS Factor. This is a special um, series that I'm doing where I've done 21 days straight, and this is day 19 of the 21-day series. So as I continue to get the studio ready here, I want to I just to or remind you to go on to getreadyforgreatness.com, create your free coaching profile where you will be able to um, um, check out all of the free resources that we have, but you'll also be able to take advantage of our my $49 offer for the coaching program that will assist you in moving through um, this particular series. So again, thank you all so much for joining me. I'm going to try and cover everything that I need to go over in this particular session in about um, 30 minutes or so. So bear with me. It'll be a short lunch, but let's jump right in. How about that? I'm going to share my screen with you guys so that we can go ahead and get started. But before I get anything going much, I want to let you guys know the family of companies that's making this possible, if you will. CTI Marketing is our marketing firm. Concentel Mobile actually is the Concentel Mobile Cultural Capital Marketplace, which is um, our shopping portal that allows our members and affiliates to buy and sell their products, basically as any other marketplace to do business with each other, and also earn points while doing that. So that ensures that the wealth circulates throughout the community. What's great about the cultural capital marketplace is and the fact that we are using the franchising model is that each franchise has a limited number of licenses or members, and therefore it's a forced economy that concentrates the revenue between these groups of businesses. And then if you want to do business outside of the network, you literally have to leave your network to go and network and bring those resources back. And and it is creating an awesome um, financial um, foundation for the members that are able to create these networks, and as these networks are being formed around the country. So I'm excited about it. It's been a vision of mine to create micro franchises, and I'm excited that we are in a position now to begin to launch them. And then the third company, Nasimba Business Alliance. This is our network of entrepreneurs, our certified professionals, the master greatness coaches, if you will, the CPAs, the accountants, the, the licensed professionals, attorneys, and all of those that require licensing, you will find in within that network. So let me move on to this and make this perfectly clear, that as so that going forward, because I'm going to be talking about some financing specifically as it relates to securities and the Securities Exchange Commission. The information provided in this presentation is for informational and educational purposes only, should not be considered investment advice, legal advice, tax advice, or any other advice. CTI Marketing is a subsidiary of Concentel LLC. It's not a registered investment firm or broker dealer. The information offered in this presentation is not a representation or a solicitation for the purchase or sale of securities. The opinions and information contained in this material is based on sources believed to be reliable, not written and are written in good faith, but no representation, warranty expressed or implied is made as to their accuracy or completeness. December Business Alliance, Concentel LLC, or its subsidiaries shall not be liable for any loss, monetary or otherwise, that may occur from your reliance on the information presented. And I know that's a mouthful, but it's necessary so that um, um, I can be totally clear that risk is involved with any kind of investment, and you can lose money if you're not fully. Even if I was going to say if you're not knowledgeable, but even the most knowledgeable investor runs the risk of losing money. So there's always the risk of losing money. And therefore you should always seek a professional and never risk more than you're comfortable with losing. So if you are if it's $50,000 and you cannot literally put it out there and walk away from it, then I say don't do it, right? All right, so let's talk about what we're going to discuss today. The PS Factor 21 Days to Greatness. I'm going to talk about the 7 streams of income and the basics of crowdfund investing. And that's where I'm going to go into the investment world there for a bit. And then ultimately end up talking about the 7 habits to greatness and emphasizing today habit number 5, the habit of expecting. But we'll get to that one later on. Let's jump right in. The 7 streams of income that when you're calculating your net worth, you're going to begin with this very simple formula. Your assets are equal to the liabilities plus the equities. So, and I know when you think liabilities, you're thinking, well, isn't a liability a debt? Yes, it's a debt in the sense that it's something that you owe, but because you owe it, it is attached to something that has value somewhere. And so that value has to go somewhere and it goes over into the asset column. So you have a let's say let's not talk about let's just say the equity wasn't there. Let's just say your asset equals to the liability. So if you have a $100,000 loan on a piece of equipment and you still owe $100,000, then that $100,000 that you owe on that liability, that note, it is the value of that note is attached somewhere. So where's the $100,000? It's attached to that $100,000 piece of equipment. Well, over time, the piece of equipment is going to depreciate. The value of that is going to go down, the asset, but at the same time, the liability is going to go down as well. Eventually, you'll owe nothing and it'll be worth nothing. And the entire time, you're writing it off against the other side, the equity. So equity is the value that you put into the company, the cash or the value that you're going to be taking out. Um, so you're an example, you put $100,000 into the business, you loan the business the money. Where does that go? Does it go to a liability or does it go to equity? Chances are you are getting something for that money in the sense of shares of stock. So I put $100,000 in, the company's going to give me $100,000 worth of stock. I now have equity in the company that I can turn around and do something with it. I can sell it, get a loan against it. And a lot of people actually do that. That's called a margin loan when you take the shares of stock that you own in a particular company and you borrow against it. Some companies, I think the margin may go up as high as 50%, but and maybe even higher. But in essence, the margin is just simply your ability, and usually it's done with the thought that you're going to take this loan and go and buy more stock. Um, Mainly, you're going to put it in risk. You're going to risk it. So in essence, half of the money in the stock market is risks. It's out there and being borrowed against something else. That's why things dry up so fast. It can turn south really bad, really quickly when over half of the assets that are counted or the equity is tied up in debt or I don't know whatever you want to call it though. It's that money is out there. Perfect example is the visual is the scene from the movie Trading Places with Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd and the Bellamy brothers. They are these rich guys, and they are playing Dan Aykroyd's character and Eddie Murphy's character against each other. The bet was to see who would fold. Would if you took a wealthy guy from his high status and made him poor, would he become wealthy again? And if you took a poor guy from his poor status and made him wealthy, would he become poor again? And they sort of had the bet as to what would happen. And then, of course, Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd found out about it and ended up flipping the tables on the brothers, and they lost their money. And there's that scene, and you can actually find it online. There's a scene where they're on the floor, and it's at the very end, toward the very end, and the guy that's the head of the exchange of Wall Street Exchange, he walks up and he says to the brothers, um, "We call our margin." And one of the brothers gets upset. He goes, "We don't have that kind of money." That when he said that we call our margin, what he was saying was that loan that you guys have against half of the stock that you have, you had $700 million worth of shares or whatever it was, and you got like a $350 million loan. Well, y'all just lost 350. We're gonna call the other 350. And they go, "We don't have that kind of money." Well, we're gonna take the stock from you. And that busted the other 50% of the stock that was sitting there as collateral was literally taken away from them. And then they took their seats on the exchange and a whole bunch of they took everything, everything. They lost everything in that one bad day at the stock market. So as I was saying before, if you can't afford to lose everything, um, the stock market is really not for you because you can lose everything. And most people cannot afford to lose everything. And the smart investor doesn't risk everything. So let's talk about those seven streams of income. Thing I want to make clear is that seven streams of income, these are not seven different jobs. That's not what a stream of income is. If you got seven jobs, you're just working way too hard. But there are seven different streams of income, and they all look totally different. But if they're working together, your life is pretty good because any one or two, well, I'd say a combination of any two of these streams of income will help you deal with the bumpy road that the other five could throw at you if you manage this the right way. So the seven streams of income look like this. The first is that labor income. That's the money that you make by going to work. Now, the second one is the business income. And this is where a lot of people make the mistake. They say that I own my own business, and but what they mean to really say is they're not a business owner as much as they are self-employed. The difference between being self-employed and being a business owner is that the self-employed person does the labor through the business with the work of his hands, but the business owner doesn't have to do the work. And this is what we're seeing right now in this economy. We're seeing it play out. I was listening to First Coast Connect. I think it was yesterday that Melissa Ross here in Jacksonville on the public radio station. For those of you who are not familiar with the Jacksonville area, but WJCT is our local public radio station, and there's a morning show that comes on at 9 a.m. called First Coast Connect. And one of the callers called in was the owner of a car dealership, and she said, or she said she was the owner, maybe she was manager, she may have been the owner, but she said the challenge that she's having is that she's paying $15,000, $30,000 to $100,000 a year, and people don't want to work for it. They rather sit at home and collect that government unemployment check because it's they can make more money doing that. So raise your hand if you see a problem with that. I don't, because here is the problem. I don't see a problem with the person saying it's better for me to go this route as opposed to that route. Why? Because that's exactly the same thing that business owner is doing. See, in a labor market, the name of the game is how much do you want to pay me for my labor, for me to convert my leisure time to your labor time that you're going to pay me for it. So that's the labor market. And so when that person is saying to you, I want to pay you $15 an hour to come and work for me on my warehouse floor, and somebody else is saying, I'll pay you $20 an hour to sit there on your couch, do you really expect someone to get up off of their couch and go to your warehouse floor or to your showroom floor or to your car floor, wherever you want them to go, and be motivated, when the reality of it is I can actually make more money sitting on the couch? Well, that's what the government does when the government competes. And that's what it should be. That's why the government should be setting a minimum wage of $15 an hour, so that the car dealership will pay $15 an hour. Then when the car dealership is paying $15 an hour, that employee doesn't have to go and depend on the government to make up for that $5, $6 an hour that they don't have enough to pay rent, because $15 an hour is barely enough to pay rent. So what is happening now is the business owner has to compete with the government now. It's not so much fun anymore when your business has to compete with the government, but your business is depending on the government now to pull us out of this slump that we're in. So the one thing that the government has is the ability to fund itself with money from the future. Most businesses can't do that. So the government can come in. The government can create income for people who don't have income. The government can do that, but we are the government. So we've got to play that. There's a balance between what the government should do and can do. I use the example of government cheese. We remember government cheese. I don't know if you do, but I definitely remember government cheese, the blocks of it. I remember government peanut butter. It used to be like a brown can, and that's how the peanut butter came. So you didn't get food stamps, you got food. That's what it was. They didn't give you food stamps, they gave you food back in the 60s. And so you got that cheese and you got that peanut butter. And though until the federal government was in the business of producing cheese, until the companies decided that they could produce cheese for about the same price as the government. Then the government started saying, okay, well, rather than giving them cheese, we'll give them food stamps that they can go and get cheese and they can get milk, because the price of the cheese and the price of the milk is now where we would want it to be. But we're not going to give them the stamps to go and get cheese and milk at 10 times what we could do it for. So the government brings the price down, the cheese and manufacturers start doing it. And then, of course, they start giving subsidies to the milk producers to keep the price low and all that other stuff. That's a totally different story. But my point is, in this marketplace, there's this battle between what role should the government play and how can the government compete? And then what role should business have? I tell you right now, it was truly upsetting to me for Ruth Chris and what is it? Steak Shake, steak something. There was something and steak, not Shake and Steak, but it's a restaurant, another restaurant. But it got $10 million, and Ruth Chris got 20 million. Now, my understanding is Chris is giving its money back, probably because they didn't need it. And that $20 million could have gone to 100 different small businesses besides this organization that had 500 employees. So how about to the 100 businesses that have 5 employees? That's what it should have done. So we're beginning to see this dynamic play out. And that's those two streams of income, the labor income and then the business income. So now the third stream of income goes into the interest earned income. That's the interest income off of your money. So you're taking your money, put it into a bank, you get interest off of that. That is, you get 1.5%, 2% maybe. But it's when your bank takes your money and does something with it. And I'll talk more about that in the next segment when I talk about the different types of crowdfunding. But you can earn money off of your money. When you're earning money off your money because your money is being put to work, then that's another stream of income. That's that third stream. So we've got the labor income, we got business income. And by the way, you own the business and the business doesn't own you when you're able to walk away from the business and the business keeps operating. When you can walk away from the business and the business continues to operate, you own the business. The business doesn't own you. Your money being put to work and it's earning interest. Now you've got that third stream of income. The fourth stream of income is dividends. These um, off of shares of stock that you own. So there are several companies out there that have and are paying dividends on a regular basis. There are plenty of investors who only buy shares of stock that they know that they're going to get a dividend. That's what they're depending on. Uh, what's a dividend? It's money that's paid on a regular basis, usually quarterly, for a specific amount based on the number of shares that you own. So if you own 1,000 shares in this company and the company is paying a $10 dividend, that means they're paying $10 for every share that you own. That means every 3 months, you can expect a $10,000 check to hit your bank account because that company is paying that dividend and another $10,000 in another 90 days and another $10,000. There are plenty of people, retired folk, living down on Miami Beach that are this is their whole retirement is because they get those dividend checks that come on a regular basis. And the as long as the stock price stays up and goes constant, the company is paying that dividend, they are happy. So that's the fourth stream of income, the dividends that you get from the shares that you own. The fifth stream of income is real estate. And I want to pause here for a minute because most people are think when you see real estate, the first thought that comes to mind is rental property or fix and flip, or maybe fix and hold. I'm going to get a real estate property, I'm going to buy it, I'm going to fix it, I'm going to hold it, and then I'm going to rent it out and make money. Um, as long as I rent it out for more than my mortgage, I'm good to go. I've got to pay the taxes and the insurance. So plus there's an additional amount that I'm paying tax wise than I wouldn't have to pay if it was my primary residence. So all of that makes up that cost. And as long as that I can cover my cost, I'm good to go. Now, most people who have rental properties, um, they fail to see where the money is made because the money in real estate is not necessarily made on that monthly rent that you're collecting. The money that you're making in real estate is the value of the property that's going up as you're holding it. And certainly as the value of the property is going up, the the debt that you owe is going down. And that distance between here and there is equity. That's the value of the property. So as the value of the property goes up, that's what you're focusing in on. Now, you can get involved in real estate without ever picking up a hammer or a nail or a paintbrush or having to deal with renters. You can purchase what's called a real estate investment trust. These are publicly traded funds that are traded on the stock market. There are different companies that buy them where you can buy it. But Simon Malls, for instance, is one of the largest real estate investment trusts in the country. So they own the St. John's Town Center and several other malls. But if you want to get involved in real estate and see your money grow, buying a real estate investment trust is a really cool way to do it without having to deal with the risk that comes with buying the property, carrying a mortgage, having to collect rent, and all those other things. Now, those things can be great if you want to get into it, but there's an easier way. And that's just one or two of the ways. There are multiple ways that you can make money in real estate, but certainly it's the fifth stream of income. Now, that sixth stream of income, I have been touching on it, but let me go directly to it. Remember that equity that I was talking about, that value between what you pay for the property and what you sell it for, or what it's worth, what you owe on it and what it's worth, that's the equity. Well, if you were to cash out that and pull that $50,000 out of the real estate, or sell those shares of stock and take that money, or cash in those bonds and take the interest that you earn for the year, and even sell that business. What you've done is you've taken a capital gain, meaning you've gained capital money, and that capital gain is going to be taxed, but it's taxed at a different rate than income, earned income. So your earned income is that labor income at the top, and I think that's what I'll change that word to be earned income, so that we can sort of distinguish it from the labor income that's in within the business. But the bottom line is this: your business has value, and when you sell it, the stocks, bonds that you're making interest off of, the savings accounts, those have value. The dividends, the real estate, all of that has value. And that value cashed in is capital gains. And so you're going to pay some sort of a capital gains tax, but again, not as much as an earned income tax. And there's several benefits to capital gains. And talk with your CPA. Make certain that you seek financial advice before you make any kind of moves as it relates to money moves. Also, now the seventh stream of income is the one. I just love this one, man. This is like royalty income is truly that money that you make in your sleep. I remember the guy who wrote, I can't remember his name though, but he wrote the theme song to The Tonight Show. And I understand that every time they played that theme song, here's Johnny, da 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 da. Every time that song played, dude got $250. $250, 5 days a week. So basically, he's making like $1,250, 50, 52, $60,000 a year, uh, just because. And that thing was on the Tonight Show, what was for 20 years, maybe. So nice $1.2 million probably total that he's made off of that one song that just kept bringing him royalties over and over and over again. Michael Jackson's kids, they're making tons of money off of the royalties, off of his songs. A couple of them pop up on my Pandora playlist. Um, uh, what is it? Human Nature. I can hear that in my head right now because it was just playing a couple minutes ago. But every time Pandora's playing it, they paying Michael's kids. Somebody's getting some money, royalty income. Elvis Presley's getting that royalty income. So, but royalty income is coming from trademarks and what's called intellectual property. Oftentimes, especially with franchising, there's those brands that you see, McDonald's, Burger King, and all of those have some sort of agreement within their franchising agreement that allows the franchisee to use the intellectual property, the names, the logos, and all of that. And all of that has value. So that's the royalty income. So there you have your seven streams of income. You got that earned income from your labor, the work of your hands. You got the business income. You've got your interest earned income, you got dividends, you got real estate, you got capital gains, and then you have royalties. Those are the seven streams of income. And remember, seven jobs is not seven streams of income, or seven properties is not seven streams of income, or seven stocks that you own. That's not seven streams. That's just one stream seven times. What you want is the seven different streams. All right, so let's go on to the next component as we talk about crowdfunding. Certainly, crowdfund investing has evolved over the years, especially since 2012. And I'll sort of go into what has changed. Prior to 2012, there are two types of crowdfunding that were um, um, acceptable. The federal government really didn't necessarily bother the companies that were doing this. One was donation-based crowdfunding. They gave that a green light, and as they did with reward-based crowdfunding. What's the difference between the two? Donation-based crowdfunding is, in essence, a GoFundMe, where you're giving your money toward some worthy cause, and that person is pledged to use that money for what they say they're going to use it for. The government is okay with it because it's after-tax dollars, so you're not asking for a write-off, and the person is not giving you any sort of um, opportunity to go and claim it against your taxes. However, there are some 501c3s that do use donation-based crowdfunding and will give you the opportunity for the write-off, but that's only if they are deemed a 501c3 under the IRS tax code for nonprofit organizations. So, but again, um, do check with your accountants, CPAs, making certain that if you're going to claim any of this as write-offs, that you are certainly legal doing it. You don't want Uncle Sam coming back and taking 10 years worth of what you thought were deductible write-offs, and they say, no, we are going to actually um, want our money. So the other one is rewards-based crowdfunding. The difference between donation-based and rewards-based is simply this. With a reward-based crowdfund, you are being offered something in exchange. With donation-based, you're not. That's the very simple answer. Reward-based crowdfund is something like Indiegogo or Kickstarter. Those kinds of websites, crowdfunding websites, usually have different levels of, like help us make our movie. The movie's going to cost $50,000. If you put in $500, we're going to give you, VIP seating for you and five of your friends, that kind of thing. Or you'll get an autographed poster or a T-shirt. You're going to get something, but basically the rule is, as long as the value of the thing that you are receiving is not worth more or significantly more. I think there's some, you know, fine line explanation as to what it means as far as the value and significantly more. But as long as it's not more than what you're donating, then you're okay with that. And basically the thought process is this, that the IRS doesn't want you to be trading in essence securities, getting a return on an investment, putting $50 in and getting $500 back, and then taking that $500 and going off and selling it on eBay and not reporting it. That's kind of where this stuff gets sketchy. But for those that were in the crowdfund space, and they saw it coming, they approached Congress and said, look, we need for you to write legislation that can be sent to the president, that he can sign this thing into law to make certain that the crowdfund industry is not destroyed by a few bad apples. And so they began to do that. Um, But these other two, debt-based crowdfunding and royalty-based, which is what I mentioned a little bit before. Debt-based crowdfunding is when you take a crowd of people, say 1,000 people, put $1,000 into a fund. That's $1 million. Now that $1 million is then going to be dispersed into loans to individuals. Let's just say it's 16%. And so the platform is going to collect that 16% on that $1 million. And 16% on $1 million is $160,000 that they are collecting. And then that gets split between the platform that's raising the money or lending out the money and collecting it. It's going to get split between the managers, the owners of the platform, and the investors who put the money up. So that's a way that you're when I mentioned earlier that you're making that you have a as a stream of income interest earned. That right there is where the interest earned income comes in. You are earning interest income from interest on the money that you put into that fund. So and then royalty based crowdfunding works pretty much the same way as debt based or loan based crowdfunding, but the difference is the money that you put in, you're attaching it to money that's being made, meaning for every dollar that that company makes, you'll make a dime. And that probably is what makes royalty-based crowdfunding not so attractive because nobody really wants to be giving up a chunk of their change every time they make a dollar. Somebody else has got their hand out looking for a dime. So royalty based is not that popular. I can't think of any particular royalty based crowdfunding website or any process that royalty based crowdfunding is being used. I can think of many instances where donation based crowdfunding is being used. One company, what is the name of the company? Golly, it slips me right now, but it's a business loan that it's a they offer loans, business lines of credit, but they are donation based or debt based crowdfunded loans. Often you might hear the word peer to peer lending. Sometimes it's used as that. Peer to peer is a little bit different than some of these debt based because the debt based are being used to give loans to businesses for real estate. And that's primarily what it's being used for. And the real estate itself is backing the money. So it creates this wonderful win-win for the investor and for the, the the owner that is receiving those funds. Then finally, equity-based crowdfunding is where you're actually giving shares of stock for the money that that person puts in. And I'll show you an example in the next slides here, the next couple slides are coming up um, on how equity-based crowdfunding works. But like donation-based, or I should say reward-based, probably more is a better way because don't remember donation-based, you're not getting anything in return. But with reward-based crowdfunding, you are getting something. You're getting a ticket to the concert, you're getting a t-shirt, you're getting a signed autograph poster or something like that. Well, with equity-based crowdfunding, you get shares of stock. And that's some awesome stuff. To be able to put $500 into a company and get back shares of stock, that's wonderful. That's you own equity in that company. So where does it all begin? Let's first of all, let me say this. If you begin now, you can always wait before you start. But if you wait before you start, you'll never begin. So the key is to begin small. Begin with the little small investments. There's an app, I think it's called Robinhood, and there's several of these apps that are out there. that allow you to take savings and put money into account, small amounts of money that's then invested. And there are very few transaction fees, so you don't have to worry about those. But that money is being invested on your behalf. In essence, you're just investing your spare change. One of the things that we offer through our Nasimba Business Incubator is what we call a credit builder loan, and it's uh, designed for you as you're going through our coaching to use this credit builder loan to put into place your um, a process where you're beginning to save money while at the same time you're building your credit. So in essence, the way that it works is you open up the individual savings account and you put money into the account, 10 payments of $25. Then what happens is our Nasimba savings match kicks in, and you now have $250 that's going into that account as well to pay down the debt of $500. When you have paid down the $500 is then released. And once it's released, it comes back up to you. And now you can use that $500 to invest in a business. And at this point, invest in your own business. But you can also use it for crowdfund investing, and where you invest in another business. Okay, so $500 doesn't sound like a lot of money, right? It's not a whole heck of a lot. But let me show you what that thing really looks like. This right here, this story that appeared in the Wall Street Journal back in 2017, I believe, how a Catholic school turned $15,000 into 34 million thanks to Snapchat. Yeah, $15,000 became $34 million. And the reason for that was this Catholic school was approached by the founders of Snapchat. They were raising money by selling shares of stock, a penny a share, for in this new app that they were developing. And the board at the Catholic school, they went for it. What do we got to lose, right? Well, we got $15,000 to lose, in essence. But they took a chance. They invested $15,000. 5 years later, Snap goes public. Oh, snap. And one share of stock sells for $34. One share of stock. So that meant they went from $10,000 for 1 million shares, and they took those 1 million shares to Wall Street and sold them for $34 a share and raked in $34 million. And I think by the close of the day or the end of the day, it may have dropped down to $24 a share, but heck, $34 million is still nothing to sneeze at. 24, doesn't matter. But what that means is for every $100, they got a $340,000 return. That means that $340,000 for $100. That is really, really nice. So they and to get $340,000 for every $100, $3.4 million, $1.7 million for $500. That's not a bad day on any day to put in $100, $500 and get $1.7 million. So that $500 investment back here would have invested in a business, and that business was Snap, the company that gave us Snapchat, would have returned a $1.7 million return in 5 years. That's a pretty good day on any given day. And now you can see the the power of that $500 invested into a crowd fund investment. Now, the federal government will allow on the low end, I believe, up to $2,200, depending on where your income is. And there may be a stipulation like 22 up to $2,200 or 5% of your income, whichever is greater, that kind of thing. So, but I think the low threshold is 2,200. Don't quote me on that, but $2,200. But nevertheless, if you're investing $2,200 and you putting $500 into Snapchat and getting $1.7 million back, or you got a pool of $15,000, and your group, your church, your whatever is getting $34 million back, man, that's sweet. That's all I got to say. That's the potential of crowdfunding. So I wanted to just drive that home and keep that in mind. Let's wrap this thing up as we go into the final segment. Well, so far we talked about the 7 streams of income. We talked about the basics of crowdfund investing. Now let me get you up to speed. Let's get all the way up to habit number 5 in this series, and then tomorrow we'll do number 6, and then the following day number 7. So here's the course. This course is designed to help you understand the significance of balancing quality relationships with an effective and efficient use of time. And also you'll learn how to manage physical and spiritual resources in order to reach your goals and achieve greatness. So let's talk about the thoughts versus emotions. Those, first of all, the number one thing is just remember, thoughts are things. Yeah, thoughts. Thoughts truly become things. They vibrate into the atmosphere, and the energy that you're sending out is projecting out into this world, and it's bringing back that energy, and it's reflecting back to you what you're putting out. Doesn't seem like it, mainly because of the way our thoughts work and the law of attraction, and or what I call the 4 great laws: the law of consciousness, the law of awareness, the law of limitation, and the law of attraction. Those 4 work together in much the same way that um, gravity, electromagnetic energy, the strong force and the weak force, they all work together. If gravity were just a little bit stronger, the earth would be sucked into the sun because the gravity from the sun would pull it in. If it was a little bit weaker, it would break away from the sun and go floating out into the earth would go floating out into outer space. But the balance of that energy is what keeps us going around and around and around. And may that balance never be lost. So that energy, those 4 bits of energy, gravity, electromagnetic, strong, and weak force, all work together the same way the 4 great laws work together: consciousness, awareness, limitation, and attraction. Those are what manifest and turn those thoughts into things. They vibrate. But the energy that we know as an emotion is simply an extremely fast subconscious evaluation of the situation. So if thoughts are things, your emotions are really fast things, so fast that it doesn't give you time to think. You just feel the hair on the back of your neck stand up, the hair on your arm, or you just get the bump, the little chill, the goosebumps, right? All right. So now these emotions show up in these 6 different what are called, Paul Ekman calls them micro expressions. Surprise. That's probably the universal one. Some say shock, but it's that wake you up. It's that when you turn the key on in the car and all the lights on the dash come on. That's your initial response, and then from that you're going to go 1 or 2 directions: fight or flight. As simple as that. Your basic instinct is going to kick in: fear or anger. Anger is going to position you for the fight. Fear is going to position you for the run. So you either fight or flight. Or if you decide to make this your comfort zone, and a lot of people do, they turn that surprise into joy or sadness. And it's a place where they become comfortable. Joy and pain is like sunshine and rain. Yeah, that's Frankie Beverly uh, says it best. But that's what you are. You either got joy over here or you got pain over there. And somewhere in the middle, you're just trying to be comfortable enough that it's nobody really messes with it, right? So that's the joy and sadness balance. Or you got disgust and contempt. You're looking out and you're seeing that particular thing and it's disgusting what you see. Or you feel contempt, hatred toward it. But you're going to go from surprise to feeling those other things. And by the way, I really want to emphasize that feelings are not the same as sensations in the sense that when I'm pinching the back of my hand, I can sense that the back of my hand is being pinched. The nerves in my hand are feeding a signal to my brain, and my brain senses that my hand is being pinched, but that's not a feeling. A feeling is that which goes beyond this physical, the sight, smell, hearing, taste, and touch. When I shut those off, what's left is this vibration, this energy. And that energy is manifesting. That goes back to what I was talking about earlier, the the conscious awareness, limitation, and attraction. Those four laws kick in. And now I'm beginning to attract to me what I'm feeling. Neville Goddard has a great book called Feeling is the Secret. I listened to it on my Audible account. But feeling is the secret. And one of those things he talks about is just basically manifesting that thought energy by simply asking the question, how would I feel if this were to be? So I'll use an affirmation, and then this for me, I say, what would it feel like if, right? So if you said, my wealth is increasing every day. Every day my wealth is increasing. Then that affirmation would go something like this. What would it feel like if my wealth is increasing every day and every day my wealth is increasing? Think about that. What would it feel like if? And when those are the most powerful words that I think you could pray on. What would it feel like if? What would it feel like if? Um, then the next thing is, um, once you know what it would feel like, you bring that picture into your mind, that feeling, that emotion. Is there a smile on your face? Are you happy? Do you feel the love that is being pressed against your chest as you experience that thing? That's what it would feel like. Then that's the energy that you're sending out into the universe, and that's what's coming back to you rather quickly, exactly as you send it out. That's that feeling. So the feelings go beyond the sensations, beyond the sight, smell, hearing, taste, and touch. And feelings, oh, there are five main feelings: the feeling of gratitude, the feeling of forgiveness, the feeling of respect, the feeling of compassion, the feeling of love. See, none of those have any, there's no physical um, attachment there. There's no physical to it. Those are pure energy. That's what a feeling is. And when you're feeling that, that's what you're bringing into your thoughts. That's what you're attracting into your life. And then the only limitation from your conscious awareness, there's limitation. The only limitation is how clear the feeling is. If that feeling is crystal clear, bam, it shows up. That's what this is about. So let's talk about now the 7 Habits of Greatness. William Shakespeare says some people are born great, some achieve greatness, and some have greatness thrust upon them. Um, Jesus was asked by Peter, um, if someone sins against me, how many times should I forgive them? 7 times? And Jesus like, nah, dude, not 7 times, but 70 times seven. And in essence, it's not because this person deserves to be forgiven 490 times a day. It's that you should make forgiveness a habit. How do you make forgiveness a habit? This verse right here does that. Is this not the fast that I've chosen to loose the bands of wickedness, undo heavy burdens, let the oppressed go free, and break every yoke? That fasting moment, that moment of separating your physical body from your mental, emotional body, and realizing that there's a process that you can go through. Going through forgiveness will help you to loose the bands of wickedness, undo heavy burdens, set the captives free, break every yoke as it relates to you and what's inside of you. Um, I can't remember who posted this. I'll remember his site. I'll go to his website, but there's an image of this man, and he's taking his hand and he's removing his outer face, and he removes the outer skin, and then he goes and there's like a a, a green level or whatever, and he removes that. And then there's one final level in his face, and he removes that. And when he removes it, inside, you see this hurt little boy. And I remember when a friend of mine told me that. She said, inside you, there's this hurt little boy. And if he's not killed before he comes out, he's going to be a terror to deal with. And that sent me on this path of finding forgiveness to the point of understanding that not return evil for evil, or harsh words for harsh words, but in return be a blessing, because that's how we inherit the blessing. All of the stuff that is to come to us because of the habit of forgiveness, it's because we're not returning that thing that was thrown at us. It's because that hurt person on the inside of us is not hurting other people. Someone said it perfectly: hurt people hurt people. Okay. So forgiving, the habit of forgiving, releases you, sets you free, undo the heavy burdens, breaks every yoke. Habit number two is the habit of releasing those bad memories, releasing failed attempts, past hurts, unhealthy relationships. Let them go. But most importantly, releasing those past successes means at some point you got to let that thing go too, so that you can make room for the new things. I use that example of the monkey that stuck his hand in the tree, and the hunter is coming in. This is how the Africans hunt monkeys in the jungle, and he sticks his hands in the tree, grabs a handful of nuts. He hears the hunter coming, and he tries to take his hand out of the tree, but he's holding on. Though that's the past success, he's holding on, and he won't let those nuts go. And because he won't let those nuts go, he gets clobbered upside the head. And next thing you know, he's dinner on somebody's table. Well, let it go. Just let go the good things, the past successes. Habit number three is the habit of loving yourself, loving your potential, loving others. Now, I remember the first time I said, I love me, to me, man, my heart did backflips. I could feel something changed, because for the first time I was turning that love on myself and finding that love within. And it's been a long journey, but I'm there. Number four, the habit of giving. I mentioned this yesterday. Targeted giving, matched giving, and percentage-based giving is a great way to give. But the wonder twin for the habit of forgiving is the habit of expecting. You should always expect from your giving. You should make room in your life to receive, and don't plant seeds of doubt. Do not plant seeds of doubt. Always expect from a return from your giving. I used the example this morning in my morning commute. I was talking about the part with Jesus, with the comes upon the men fishing, and they were pulling up their nets because they hadn't caught anything. And Jesus said, toss your net over on this side. What was happening is, at that moment, they tossed their nets. Now what was the difference between what they did on the right side of the boat as opposed to the left side of the boat? They over on this side of the boat, they tossed that net with expectation. They were pulling up the nets because they had no expectations. That's the difference. This, on the one side, I'm pulling up my nets. I don't expect anything to be in this net. That's why I'm pulling it up. There's no expectation. And guess what? There's nothing in it. But when I toss it over here on this side, even before I tossed it with expectation. Why? Because, well, it came from a good source. Jesus wasn't going to like mislead me, right? So with that expectation, with that trust, with that faith, with that belief, up comes this bountiful catch of fish. No doubt. But I had to make room to receive it. I got to bring it into my life. And what I talked about yesterday was the tithing. And what tithing does is it that preparing for the overflow. You give, and it shall be given unto you, good measure, pressed down, shaken together, shall running over shall men given to your bosom. Bring ye all the tithe into the storehouse, that may be meat in my house. But the tithe, and prove me now herewith that I shall not pour you out a blessing, that there should not be room enough to receive it. What's the blessing? The blessing is that the condition of the container is changed. It's not about the size of the blessing, because how could you, if it was about the size of the blessing, it would be that you never received it, because it said it. Pour you out a blessing, that there shall not be room enough to receive it. Well, if you couldn't receive it, then you didn't receive it. You didn't get it. It's not about that. It's about the condition of the container not having room enough to receive. See, in the past, the blessing, well, the curse, if you will, was that there were holes in the bottom of the container. No matter how much you poured into the container, it never filled up. The blessing now is that the holes are being repaired, and now the container is full, that when I come and add that last 3 ounces of water, there isn't any room to receive. That's the blessing. The condition of the container has changed. Now, don't be surprised or feel the need to apologize for the blessings that's pouring into your life. That's what the habit of expecting is all about, guys. So let's continue to focus on that. And we just got to remember, the habit of giving and the habit of expecting go hand in hand. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking about the habit of sharing, which is quite different from the habit of expecting. And I'll be glad. I look forward to being able to go into detail on the habit of expecting. If you have not done so, please go to getreadyforgreatness.com, create your free coaching profile. You can get the workbook for only $49. Plus, you'll get Jay's book, The Greatness Zone. This is awesome book. Know your fit, know yourself, find your fit, transform the world. This book right here is awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. And it's part of the $49 package. You'll also get your One Vision reward card. And this is your passport to our cultural capital marketplace. You saw it earlier. I mentioned it earlier as I was talking about the crowdfunding and how you're able to create your crowdfund account, begin to build up your investment account. Will we be able to say and guarantee you that every company that in which you invest $100, you're going to get a return of $340,000? Absolutely not. You may well lose some money, but the bottom line is that the companies that you're investing in are positioning you to receive some sort of return because of that company's success. And we're going to do everything within our power to make certain that that company is successful by providing them with the resources that they need in incubation, the marketing, the accounting, customer service, all of those services to be able to take that business to the next level. And then with your help through the crowdfunding investment portal, by being a member of the Cultural Capital Marketplace and putting your dollars along with hundreds and thousands of other people who are putting their money behind these businesses, what we're going to begin to see is this economy is going to skyrocket, not and go on an even bigger run than we saw for this last one, these 12 years, because you know, the bigger fall creates a bigger return. So we may not have hit bottom yet, and bottom may be really ugly because it looks like we've lost every gain all the way back to the depression era. That's how many jobs have been lost. And now some may say that's, you know, what we put the president in the office for, right? We put him up there to go and shake things up. We wanted a disruptor. Well, we've got the disruption. We got it. And it's going to be interesting to see how this thing plays out. So there is an upside to every downturn, and the key is to make certain that you will be there and ready for it when it appears. Do not let greatness catch you by surprise. Get ready for greatness. Log on to getreadyforgreatness.com, create that profile. Also, um, log on to richardcuff.com for the videos. I'll post this video there's today, a little bit later, take a moment for it to upload. But you also have been watching it live on Facebook. Do like the videos, like the page, subscribe over at richardcuff.com, ring that bell so that you'll get the alerts every time I post a new video, and then share it. Please share it. Make a comment. Let me know what you think. I'm looking forward to hearing from you. And if you want to reach out to me, set up a coaching call, do so at the Get Ready for Greatness page, and then I'll look forward to talking with you one on one. So till then, peace, love, great beginnings, and till next time,